Chuck, you are very much on an odd schedule. I'm just so used to you not being up. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it as always. Hope you're doing good out there where you're at and that the weather's cooling down like it is here where I'm at. It's so nice now. This is like that perfect time of year for weather and the heat finally subsides. Yeah. All right, Chuck. Have a good night, man. Mino says W. Well, hello.
Anything?
Right here. Saboteur Comics, how are you? Tepkitis, how's it going? Saboteur, good to see you. Good to see you up and working. Yeah, I gotta keep plugging away at these things. Kevin, what's up? Tepkitis, is how your English is not good, but you love to draw, or you just like seeing drawings, Mr. Tepkitis. Either way, thank you for stopping in and checking out. Saboteur, this is the start of book 2 to the thing I just finished in the last couple of months. I'm just kind of waiting for the inks to get done for the first book, and then I'm going to start looking into starting a crowdfunder for it and see how that will go. But I've just decided to kind of just get cracking on the next one. So this is like the beginning where the villainous characters are kind of getting their introduction. Tepkitis, these are just my own comic book characters. No, not manga. I mean, I guess in a way it's art on paper with pictures and words, but I do more like traditional American style comics.
You may be buying your first home or your 10th, an investment property rental, or just needing to gain access to a property.
Cro-Magnon, how's it going? Kevin, I've got these Copic markers that I use. I used to use them all the time for kind of gray tones. If that's what you're asking, did I read that right? Yeah, I've done some gray tones and stuff like that. In fact, my He-Man fan comic, I did a couple of images inside there that were using gray tones and things like that. I tried ink wash and just various things just to see how it would reproduce, and it kind of did okay. But yeah, I've used them before. Thank you, Cro-Magnon. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the Kirby Crackle Q-tip technique is pretty fun. It's a pretty neat way to get that texture. Adam Brooks, how's it going? Saboteur, I mean, you know, you ask how long does it take per page, but then you mention looks like a lot of detail, which is what determines how long a page will take, obviously, you know. How much detail is in it. I have to say, honestly, this is not a detail on a page. This is just like a bunch of nonsensical, like, technological gobbledygook that I don't really, I'm making it up on the page. It doesn't need to be precise. It just kind of needs to convey the idea. So, I mean, it's only taken me 20 minutes to do this part, and then the rest is just a big face and a big figure. Like, this is like the basic easy stuff. There's some background elements I need to add, but I mean, if I was drawing comics full time, I could probably nail a page a day. I really honestly believe. So, and I was knocking out a page a day at about a year ago when I was finishing up my fan comic to get it done. When I kind of hit the accelerator, I can work pretty fast. Adam, you're feeling the wrath of your kids back to school. I was going to say, you must be sick. And that's the worst. Right, Kevin? It better match this exactly, right? Yeah. But yeah, it just depends on, you know, how complicated the page is and how much nonsense needs to go into it, but Cro-Magnon, you say art drawing has always been a lonely art form. That's very true, but now with technology, you can kind of have somebody, you know, you can have an audience. You say it must feel good. I gotta say, I think that probably depends on the person, because it's very easy to sit here and be like, I am a talentless hack. I am no good, and I'm letting people watch me do this, where I know that they're looking at it going, what the hell is he doing? You know, I've struggled with that a lot when I started, and I still do, but I kind of learned to just put it aside and not think about that there's people watching. I like to think that I'm just in I'm in an art class and I'm just talking with people as we draw, but I kind of have to sometimes make myself forget that people are watching. Adam Brooks loves watching the progress. Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, there's a lot of like poser complex on my part, where I'm like, I sit here and I talk about comics on my YouTube channel. I'm constantly critiquing them and saying they should do this or they should have done this. And then at the same time, I'm over here drawing my shit, and I'm like, man, people could rip me apart if they wanted. But I try to walk the walk, so to speak. You know, I'm making them, I'm putting them out there, I'm doing my best. And if I'm critiquing art of other professional artists, at least I'm talking about it in the context of, like, I try to make them too. What are any of us doing? Yeah, and Adam, yeah, and that is something I talk about, where, you know, at least the person's actually making them. I try to at least also kind of hold up to my ideals when it comes to that, where I talk about, I know people all over the place that talk about the stuff that they're gonna do. Well, I'm doing it, for better or worse. Saboteur, anyone who puts out work has all my respect. Bottom line, they work. I mean, that, again, that's what I totally agree with that. That's what I talk about, is like, it doesn't even matter if a person makes a thing and it's not technically professional quality, you know, like you wouldn't see from the big companies. Just the fact that a person made it, that you just put it out there and you made it, it's a lot farther along than a lot of people. So Adam, you kind of love my speech on that subject whenever I review an indie comic, because I do tend to kind of repeat the same thing, because I want to make sure that I say it every time and make sure people understand where I'm coming from. Addie, how are you, Missy? The last indie comic I did, I was kind of worried that I pissed off the creator, because he didn't respond to me about it for like over a week, and I was worried that I made him mad. I was like, uh-oh. I think I went a little harsh on it. But he eventually got back to me and said that he appreciated it and agreed with everything I said. I'm like, oh, okay. I was worried that I was a douchebag. Ed, you had a game, but you had to pause due to weather. Marching competition tomorrow. Adam, a finished book is already a big deal. Yep, already better than all the books people say they're going to make someday. Exactly, that's... Sometimes I worry that I'm repeating myself, and I 100% am, but... You know, it's a philosophy, I think, is that I've come to just understand on my own personally, and like, you know, it bears repeating with every indie comic, because the other inspiring thing for me is that I've had a couple of people tell me that because of saying things like that, and then seeing what I'm doing on my own, I've had a couple of people tell me that I've inspired them to just get going, even though they've been putting it off forever. And so that's humbling, again, to say, you know, having anybody say that anything I said kind of inspired them to go. But yeah, one guy was like, I kept putting it off, but you said just make it. Even if it's no good, just make it. And just keep going and keep learning and you'll get better. And he's like, and so I did. Now I finished a comic. I'm like, holy shit. Oh, Addie, you stop it, Missy. Thank you. It's a very kind thing. I appreciate it, guys. I know I say it, and I'm not trying to sound repetitive or like I don't know, a sappy guy, but I appreciate all the feedback and, you know, people saying that I've kind of helped them and showed them something or inspired or just anything. It's crazy to hear, so I really appreciate it. And I think it's one of the greatest things, just to be able to like have a community of people where we're all making stuff or we're working on it or being creative, whether it's comics or music or writing, whatever it may be. Like, let's create, let's make something. Because that clock is a ticking. You never know when it suddenly is going to shut off and you can't do it anymore. And then I think the last thing anybody wants to do is be sitting in their bed somewhere, unable to work or function or create, saying, I had years of time that I could have been doing something and I didn't do it. My comic book review videos are like chicken soup for your soul. It's crazy comfort food. Well, thank you. Addie, you think you may have an inner artist taking over? You were watching this cameraman today, and for some reason, whenever you find someone nice to look at, I want to draw them. That's an artist right there. I've done the same thing. You know, you see some kind of image, you just run across something that's out there, you see it, and you're like, I want to draw that. I want to copy that. I want to put it down. I want to reproduce it. I completely get it. Saboteur, years spent at the bar when I could have been behind the desk. I mean, I think there's a balance for everything, you know. You certainly have to. I think a thing with an artist is, and I think everyone knows this, and I assume would probably agree on some level, is you have to live life. Because you have to live life to then have something to say about it through your art. If you haven't seen anything, you haven't tried anything, you haven't stretched anywhere, you may not. You may want to have something to say, but you may not be able to say it because you haven't put yourself out there and done stuff. Because we artists like to kind of speak to the world through our creativity. But you got to live that life a little bit. Meaning, go to the bar on occasion, have a pint, get in a bar fight, bust a chair over someone's head. Wesley Gleason just had a pint. Hell yeah. Addie, you were depressed, art blocked in the state December, and once January rolled around and summer hit, you went to the beach and etc., depression disappeared. Well, whatever it takes to kind of get you through a thing and get back to the inspiration and the creativity. Thanks for stopping in, Addie, if you have to bounce. I know I'm doing this really late, but I just kind of do it when it feels right. Yeah, Kevin Kayfabe made a whole bunch of stuff. Daily videos for several years. Draw that cameraman, Addie. I wish I could say I can't wait to see it, but I know that you don't have a place to share these things, but maybe one of these days. You know what's crazy, guys, with the kayfabe thing? Once that all went down and it kind of came to an end, I remember thinking, like, well, it's time to get back into watching them again and kind of go through their library again and see the stuff that they've done, but I kind of, so far, haven't been able to, for the most part. It's kind of hard to go back and rewatch them, you know, knowing that Ed is gone in the way that he went out. I mean, it's kind of hard. Same for you, Adam. Yeah, God, it just pisses me off at those assholes that drove him to that level. Is it okay for me to kind of say there's a little part of me that's kind of, I don't know what other word to use besides mad at Eddie, that he felt like that was his only way through that situation? You know, no disrespect meant, and I couldn't possibly imagine what he was going through, but it's like he could have got through it and been fine. I believe. And it's just such a bummer that he doesn't feel like that would have been an option for him. Yeah, Cro-Magnon, very hard to watch after what happened. I mean, I've been through some dark spats in my existence and had some dark thoughts, but it's like, you know, it's just a moment in time. I'm going to let it pass. And then the pain that it causes your loved ones, you know, that's kind of the worst part of it. You know, what his family and mom and dad and sister must, you know, what they think that they've been. Anyway, I guess we don't need to talk about it. It's kind of dark. I know I'm just kind of going off on this tangent here. It's beyond aggravating, frustrating that it happened, and it never should have. And there's some fanboys out there that are complete assholes. Yeah, his fans would have stuck by him. Yeah, I think so. I mean, he would have lost some, but you'd gain some. You know, it sucks that he had to go through that in the first place, but if you have to, he's going to have to regroup, I would imagine, and just kind of be like, all right, well, that happened. There's going to be some people that think of him in a particular way for the rest of his life. There's nothing he can do about it. And you know, the greatest revenge is just to keep going and be successful, is what I would think. And I mean, that's one of those things that I kind of learned to really like about Eddie, is that the dude was like successful. And he made books that sold, and he kind of knew how to market himself. I'm not like a massive fan of Ed Piskor's art style per se, but his knowledge is like profound, and his technique and his approach and his business acumen, that's what I liked about him. That's kind of what I was most inspired by. And I'm like, that guy, if he would have just kept going, he would have been even more successful. He would have come out of it at the other end, and he could have thrown up a middle finger to all those pieces of shit that tried to shut him down. But he let it get to him. And his discipline, yeah, 100% right there. That's a big part of it. You got to be willing to sit down and work. You know, all the social media nonsense and the hooping and hollering doesn't mean anything if you don't have something to show for it. And man. He always was producing. His Hip Hop Family Tree, I've never read it, but it seems like he had great success with that. And X-Men Grand Design was paying his bills in a big way, and I think his Red Room was really successful, as I understand it. And Cro-Magnon thing is that the wave changed so quickly. I'm sure he would have been okay had he held on for a little while more. 100%, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. If he could have just held on and kind of suffered through the indignity of his name being dragged and just let it just let it pass through you. It's a moment in time. Let it happen. Let that shit just pass through you like a wave. Let it happen. Feel it, and then let it go, and it's gone. You know, it's like a haunted forest. As long as you keep walking, you'll get out eventually. To use a stupid metaphor, but the only reason if you're only lost if you sit down and stop and you don't keep moving. So I bet if you just kind of would have kept on keeping on and let it kind of pass and die down. And again, the greatest thing would have been to see him be successful, and then you could just kind of hear him talking shit on the channel. He's like, if it could have been like a year later, yeah, a year ago, a bunch of dickless fuck-ups tried to shut me down. And he's like, I went through hell, but I stuck with it, and I'm still here. I'm still making my nut, and I ain't going anywhere. It's a crazy, crazy fucking world we live in, and I'm more often than not kind of convinced that social media has just as many horrific drawbacks as advantages. Like, she's gone, but in the chat here a little bit ago was that girl named Addie, and she's in high school at most. She won't tell me how old she is. I didn't want to know for any reason except to make sure that people treated her appropriately, and I wanted to make sure well, how old are you, just so we know where you're at. But she wouldn't reveal her age. She kind of wanted to keep it private. I'm like, no, I understand. But she talks about how she's not allowed to have a social media page from her parents. And I said, you know what, good on them. You don't need this kind of fucked up, mind wiping evil. It has so many negative applications that you got to be really strong to kind of filter out the nonsense. I think a lot of us older guys that grew up in a different era, it's not hard for us to filter it out because we're all grown up and grew up kind of normal. But kids these days, I don't let my boys have social media, and they won't be allowed until they're 18 or some shit. And I let my son know, I'm like, he's got a phone, but he can watch YouTube, but he's also under very strict kind of you can only watch this kind of stuff. No Instagrams, no TikToks, nothing. And once he's old enough to kind of be on his own and be a grown man, then he can make his own choices. But me and his mom, even though we're not together anymore, her and I 100% agree on this. Nope, I need my boys to grow up healthy and well-adjusted as much as possible, and absolutely no social media. There's too much horrible shit in the world, and you can access it all. Yeah, Cro-Magnon screens are downright negative for kids, right? some years ago, my older brother, his son is like 19 now, 18 or 19. But when he was like 10 or 11, somehow one of his buddies discovered on a computer and by themselves, they were looking up hardcore pornography. And of course, my brother had no idea. And then I don't know how it come out, if they got caught, if they got busted, but his son started telling him that his son was like having a hard time with the images that he saw. It fucked him up. They had to put him in therapy because of the stuff he saw online. And I never asked what kind of horrible shit he watched. But because this buddy of his had watched this, and then you watch some chick getting plowed by 3 different guys online, what does a 10-year-old even make of that, you know? So I'm kind of like, my brother, why are you even letting him be near a computer unsupervised? But, you know, I guess you can't watch kids 100% of the time. Just horrible. Yeah, it's like the Wild West, right? Pain Olympics, probably. Yeah, I'm not worried about my oldest boy. He's very much a rule follower. He's inherently just, I'm not supposed to do this, and so I'm not going to do it. And thank God he keeps his younger brother in check. Because my youngest boy is a goddamn rule breaker and a boundary pusher, but he's a good boy, and the worst thing that my little boy goes through is when he does something bad. He feels like he's a bad person. And I have to be like, no, you're not a bad person, my son. You just did something wrong. There's a difference between doing something wrong and being a bad person, and you're not a bad person. You just made a mistake, and we're going to teach you about it. But he's the one I got to look out for the most, but fortunately his older brother keeps him in check big time. His older brother would rat his house out in a second. So all we can do as parents is just give them a strong moral center and a strong connection to family, so they feel well adjusted, so when they go out into this fucked up world, they know how to deal with the fucked up shit, and then they can find the good in the world, and then be the good in the world. Just be a good human being and be kind and take care of yourself. Don't be a burden on others. Help others. Preach, Rob. I mean, I hope it's kind of universal thoughts for most people I know would tend to think the same. I hope, I think. I see too much negativity in the world, especially the last month or two. Just horrible shit going on. Trying to decide if tomorrow they're playing Apollo 13 in IMAX in theaters again, and my oldest son's a big kind of space nut, So I'm like, I should just take him to this movie and go see it in IMAX. That's what I want to do tomorrow, but my younger boy will probably be bored out of his mind, but he's got to come with us. No, Wesley, I didn't take that as anything else. Sorry if I made it sound like that, but I took that as such. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Apollo 13 back in theaters. Such a great movie. Like, I want to go see it. I should go to the arcade beforehand. You know, I'm not sure where there's an actual damn arcade anymore around this place. I'm sure there must be one somewhere. I've got a couple things I'm looking out to take my boys to. And I'm always constantly looking for something to like. I'm trying to build memories with my children since I don't get them all the time. So I'm trying to do things with them that they'll remember. To my town here, like in a week or two, totally taking them to that. There's this like traveling Titanic exhibit that's going around, and my youngest son is just crazy fascinated with the Titanic. So I'm like, I'm taking him to that. I'm not even going to tell him about it. I'm just going to get in the car and I'm like, come on, we got to go run some errands, and we're going to take this little trip, and have him just have us go to it, and then just have him be like, holy crap, this is the Titanic exhibit. I'm like, yep, let's go look around, you know. You know, there is a mall right next to me. There is kind of a small arcade, but it's not like. The problem is, I guess, Wes, I'm not sure how old you are. I'm guessing you maybe are sort of ish, kind of like my age, um, where we grew up, and we actually got to go to what we consider to be a real frickin' arcade. Like, it's dark, and there's just tons of arcade games everywhere, and the sounds and all that stuff, and all these like local ones are just like um, air hockey tables and like electronic claw machines, and then like games where you sit down and ride, like, you know, it's like a racing game with like motorcycles or some shit like that. Yeah, it's all kind of fine, but and I get why arcades have died out, because when you can sit at home on your PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever the hell and play way more interesting interactive games, like, why would you go to this fucking place and feed quarters into this Pac-Man game? Like, because it's fun, son. Okay, Wesley, yeah, you and I are the same, my dude. Yeah, I kind of thought so, but yeah. About 2 years ago, um, there is another mall that's a little bit farther away, and they had a little local, small-time comic convention going on at the mall, and my brother was exhibiting there, so I went and visited him, and I took my kids. And at that mall, they did have a kind of classic, old-school arcade thing, and there was this giant Minecraft game And my son just looked at that and his eyes lit up. And so I'm like, all right, hold on. So I got like $10 in quarters and just gave it to him, all of it. And he sat there and played that thing for like 45 minutes. And when he got done, he come out, he had a big smile on his face, and he come out and put his arms around me and said, "Thank you, Dad, that was so fun." And he hugged me. I'm like, dude, it was all I could do to not cry. Like when our little kids just show genuine sweet affection and you don't have to ask them. I was like, all right, that was what I needed. Yeah, Cro-Magnon, like the arcade where the original Tron takes place, 100%. All I want to do is go to an arcade where there's Tron and Pac-Man and old school asteroids. Anybody remember that Star Trek game where the one I saw, you'd sit down in it, and there's all these buttons, and it was crazy awesome. And I've never seen one ever since. Whenever you go to the movies with your girlfriend, you go to the arcade first. Yeah, that's the thing. If I ever end up in a relationship again, I would have those kind of like expectations. I'm like, all right, we can do whatever the hell, but we're going to the arcade, girl. So I'm starting to think I won't ever be in a relationship again. Now that I've been married, I've been through it once, and it was amazing. I wouldn't trade it for anything, no matter how much it sucked to have it end and how much it still hurts to this day, and even how much I would never get back together with my kid's mom. It's kind of been ruined. I'll never find anybody that was as good as she was, so I just kind of feel like it's in my best interest to I'll just stay single. Of course, it's easy to not get hurt that way, right? And that's probably what it's all about for me. I'm kind of, yeah, Wesley, see, does that remind you of when you were a kid and your mom gave you a bunch of quarters? Yeah. People ask about the new Tron movie. I don't know. I'm curious. I was really disappointed with the last Tron movie, Tron Legacy, for a couple of probably stupid reasons. In retrospect, I'm like, it was kind of fine. It's okay. But, and this new one, I'm like, how are they going to make sense with having these digital people come into the real world? It's like, I'm here to watch these people on the game grid, but I guess we've already done that, so it's time to do something else. I don't have a problem with Jared Leto, honestly. I'm curious. I might actually go check it out. I want it to be awesome, but I really wanted Tron Legacy to be awesome, and it's just kind of okay. You know what Saboteur Comics is? I had never even heard of Daft Punk before that. And there was a couple of tracks in the movie that I kind of dug, but I just don't get the fucking appeal of Daft Punk overall. I don't get it. I even kept trying to look up their music. I'd like look up Daft Punk and try to find their most popular song, and then I'd listen to it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is it so popular? Like, I'm missing something. I just don't get it. And I don't have any, like, dislike for him. It's just like I just didn't get it. But I'd never heard of him before Tron Legacy, so I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's a thing that's another thing I don't get. Cro-Magnon, you saw the Anaconda trailer. That looks like way fun. I don't know if I've even heard of an Anaconda thing. I need to pay more attention. Michael Pritchard, hello, hello, hello. I also thought it kind of interesting that I guess for some reason I thought they'd bring back Daft Punk for the new Tron movie, but they're not. It's what the fuck? What's the name of the guy doing the music for the new Tron movie? It's that it's completely escaping my brain. I know you guys will tell me right here. 9 Inch Nails, right. And they've been out of the scene forever, right? Whatever, Micah, you know that's a euphemism. I'm actually kind of having fun with this. I was kind of worried about how I was going to make this thing look when I inked it, but I was going to have these shadows filled in solid black under his mouth and his nose and everything, like hard blacks, but I kind of like the line work thing going on. I feel like it's kind of working in a way I wasn't expecting, so. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about the 9 Inch Nails music, which, again, I know I'm going to lose a bunch of street cred right here, as if I had any. I was never into 9 Inch Nails either. Everyone was like, oh my god, it's 9 Inch Nails. I'm like, okay, it sure is. I have learned to appreciate them later in life. There's a couple of songs I'm like, all right, this is a jam that I can be really into. But at the time, I did not give a shit about 9 Inch Nails at all. No hard blacks, keep it flaccid. But when you have the option to do hard blacks, it's so hard to not keep it hard. You know what I'm saying. I've never seen the original Anaconda. Is that the one with, was it Jennifer Lopez in it and Cube or something like that? Am I remembering right? Is that a continuation of kind of that? Is that a remake of that movie? Am I remembering correctly? Yeah, I never saw it. That was another one that just kind of escaped me. I mean, it didn't look interesting, you know. It's a movie about a giant killer snake. I'm like, all right, whatever. So it's a remake or like a sequel? Okay, so it's a completely original take. All right, I'll have to look up the trailer. I haven't seen it. Guest appearance by Sir Mix-a-Lot. That's funny. Here's a funny. YouTube suggested this, so I'm going to play this in the background. Oh, blow the wad.
In the category of the United States, the answer is the names of all 50 states and their capitals. Okay.
Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of
Ohio.
Then Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana, then there's Denver, Colorado, and Boise, Idaho. Texas and Austin, then we go north to Massachusetts, Boston, and Albany, New York, Tallahassee, Florida, and Washington, D.C., Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Nashville, Tennessee. Elvis used to hang out there, don't you know? Trenton's in New Jersey, north of Jefferson, Missouri. You've got Richmond in Virginia, South Dakota, Haspierre, Harrisburg in Pennsylvania, and Augusta, up in Maine, and here is Providence, Rhode Island, next to Dover, Delaware. Concord, New Hampshire, just a quick jaunt. Vermont, yeah, which is up in Vermont. Hartford, Connecticut, so busy in the fall, and Kansas has Topeka, Minnesota has St. Paul. Juneau's in Alaska, and there's Lincoln in Nebraska, and there's Raleigh out in North Carolina, and then there's Madison, Wisconsin, and Olympia in Washington, Phoenix, Arizona, and Lansing, Michigan. Here's Honolulu, Hawaii's a joy, Jackson, Mississippi, and Springfield, Illinois, South Carolina with Columbia down the way, and Annapolis and Maryland on Chesapeake Bay. They have wonderful clam chowder.
Wonderful clam chowder.
Cheyenne is in Wyoming, and perhaps you make your home in Salt Lake City out in Utah where the buffalo roam. Atlanta's down in Georgia, and there's Bismarck, North Dakota, and you can live in breakfast in your old Kentucky home. Salem in Oregon, from there we join. Little Rock in Arkansas, Iowa's got Des Moines, Sacramento, California, Oklahoma, and its city. Charleston, West Virginia, and Nevada, Carson City. That's all the capitals there are.
Huh? Oh, I'm so sorry. You failed to put your response in the form of a question.
Yeah, Saboteur, I'm using these, I never know how to pronounce this. Fudendosuke Tombow pens. This is the soft tip. You can buy them in a 2-pack. There's a soft tip and a hard tip. And this is all, so far, yeah, just been just this pen. It's actually about to, because I've been using this one for a while, so it's getting, the ink is, you know, I got to let it kind of recharge its ink a little bit. So I'm going to bust out a different pen and do something I haven't done in a long time. Something I learned by watching Jim Lee. That's all the capitals there are. Imagine a Fast and Furious Jurassic World crossover. Addy.
Are you guys here for the halftime show?
Oh, no. We're here to help people customize and save living music.
So that's right.
Addy, you're old. The last thing you are is old. I grew up actually using an old school typewriter in my house with the little arms that actuate and come up and actually smack down the actual letter. Crazy old school. Oh, Addie, you're always welcome. Reddy, have I ever worked on a comic in the middle of it, wanted to add more story or something, but it was too late? Yes, which is partially why I do all my comics kind of my own Marvel method, which is means I don't script them out word for word, panel for panel with the dialogue. I just plot it out on my own, and then I draw the plot, and as I work on it, as has happened several times, I come up with an idea while I'm doing it, and it gives me at least more opportunity to make changes on the fly. Because I firmly believe, at least for me, I rarely have an idea so firmly figured out that it's like I could write it out and never need to do any kind of alterations. Usually I'm working on it, I'm like, oh, I just thought of something else that would be even better. And so I like leaving myself the freedom to be able to alter it as I go. Wes, is your favorite song in Tron Legacy? Yeah. Yeah, basically, Cro-Magnon. I learned for me for my creativity, the way that I work, like just plot it out and then draw it, and then I add the dialogue after all the art's done. I've never tried the gum stuff. I've heard of it, I've seen it done, but I've never tried it myself. That's something I would like to try for sure. Philip Ramirez, what comic is this? This is issue 2 of a book that I'm working on. And it's a big kind of celebration / parody of insane 90s comic nonsense. No, Reddy, you know the thing is I just have zero interest in doing color at all. I mean, I get what you're saying, you said you're not a colorist, but try doing flats. I have no interest. I kind of want to focus on making my art look as good as I can do in the black and white. I kind of keep thinking of myself as like a evolutionary holdover trying to reproduce comics the way that I grew up, meaning I grew up watching my favorite artists put stuff on paper. They drew it in pencil, on paper, and then inked it, and there's originals. And now everyone's moved on to digital. And that's all I want to do. I just want to have piles and piles of pages of my own comics in black and white. And then when the opportunity comes up for color somewhere, I'll let the colorists that I find, work their magic. That I don't want to stop trying to perfect my black and white art so I can start farting around with color and be no good at that either, if that makes sense. Saboteur, you hope to get to see a crossover with you and Mitch. I don't know if you were there. I kind of joked about that with him not too long ago. And I could see it as a possibility. you know, it'll obviously be down the road if we choose to do that. But I think that that would actually be really fun. Ready, you just do whatever is the fastest while maintaining quality, so you do digital. And again, I completely get digital. I understand it. Just I feel like I need to throw out a validator that I'm just saying, just because I don't do digital doesn't mean I think there's anything wrong with it. Not at all. I don't want to stop and suddenly start learning a digital device. I want to draw on paper. This is way more fascinating to me. I can't explain how little interest I have in drawing on an iPad. I've tried it a couple times. I feel so disconnected. I do not like it. And I know that if I kept at it, I would probably get really comfortable with it. But again, I just don't want to. But I also understand that I might be hindering myself in some ways, like holding myself back by not pursuing some stuff that might help me be more productive and give me some more kind of creative options. But I'm just kind of comfortable with the fact of like, no, I'm just drawing on paper. And if I screw up on paper, well, we're stuck with it. That's just sucks to be me. God damn it, how did I do that? Oh well. Oh, you're talking color? Sure, color, yeah. But still the same thing. I don't want to. Philip Ramirez, I just kind of come up with my own stuff. I just kind of come up with my own silly ideas and what entertains me, and I've kind of just decided that I want to make stuff that I'm like, what would I like to see? What kind of stuff entertains me? What would I want to see from somebody that no one else is making? So that's what I'm doing here, is just making the kind of stuff that I think of it like I'm making stuff that child me would want to see, especially now that it's adult me. If that makes any sense. How about fan art? Could you draw Conan? And if you're asking me, Wesley, if I could or would, of course I could, I would. I've drawn fan art of all kinds of characters. I just don't do much of it anymore because I've kind of focused my attention on I want to make the comics. I'm getting too old and time is zipping by too quickly where I'm like, I just need to make my own stuff. So unless it's a commission or something like that. Cro-Magnon, anyone familiar with Matt Lesniewski's work? It's not a name I'm familiar with. I bet if Chuck Gibson was in here, I bet he's heard of him. The guy that's doing the inks for me that used to work for Image Comics. I bet he would know. You say he does some crazy, amazing ink with pens, like nothing you've seen before in comics, and you're a lot older than me. Well, welcome to the club, sir. And Wesley, sometimes, I do need to just sit down and just do something for fun. Not that comics aren't for fun, But when you're so hyper-focused on it, doing things like this, it starts to feel a little bit like a task, a chore, because you're working so specifically on the storytelling and everything like that, and you're trying to make the art look, you're trying to make the art and the story. So, but anyway, the point being is, like, sometimes I have to stop and I need to draw just something for fun, and like I'll draw some random whatever. So yeah, I definitely will do stuff like that on occasion. I heard of the new Batman Deadpool crossover. That's kind of curious as to how that's going to be received. I do see Liefeld out there barking how Deadpool would wipe the floor with Batman in 10 seconds flat, considering Deadpool's power set. And already you can't wait to see new Frank Miller art. I wish I could agree with you on that, but Frank has lost his artistic mind. As far as I'm concerned personally, his stuff these days is, I do not get it. You know what I am excited for? Speaking of Frank Miller, I just ordered some comics. A guy on that Facebook page that I go to, my first exposure to Frank Miller's work was Daredevil 181. That's the one where Bullseye fights Elektra and he kills her. That was my first exposure to Daredevil, to Elektra, Bullseye, Frank Miller, Klaus Janson. And it was one of like these formative comics in my life. It was before I even knew that I liked to draw. I didn't even know I liked to draw when I was reading that stuff. And then once I liked to draw, man, was I like referencing that, ripping it off. And I saw a guy, he had a whole pile of Daredevil comics, including a much nicer copy of Daredevil 181. So I bought that off him. But I'm also getting issues 179, 180, 181 again, and then 182. So I can read the story for the first time in my life leading up to that issue where Elektra gets killed and Daredevil paralyzes Bullseye. So I can read the stories leading up to it and then the issue immediately following it. And I am really excited to get those. Cro-Magnon, he's going full Picasso in his old age, which isn't a bad thing. See, I wish I kind of want to understand what Frank Miller's doing with his art. It's so, I don't want to think of it as like he's getting old and he can't see very well. Maybe his cognitive abilities are not so great. Maybe his hand-eye coordination is terrible and therefore his art's suffering. Or is he just wanting to make the weirdest, ugliest shit he can? And if he does, that's okay, but why? It's just an expressive, artistic kind of new thing he wants to try while he can. And if that's the case, then all right. You know, that's a thing. Considering the crazy good stuff he was doing on like Sin City, I just do not like this new crazy whatever it is he's got going on. Saboteur, you had a great experience with Frank long ago. Tell me, you know, as much as you can. Wesley, you just ordered Last Days of Lex Luthor, written by Mark Waid, pencils by Brian Hitch, inks by Kevin Nolan. Is that some old book? Because I don't ever remember seeing Brian Hitch being inked by Kevin Nolan, and I don't think Hitch would let anybody ink over him, especially now, because Kevin Nolan just obliterates a penciler's work. He just mows over you. So I'm wondering, is that some older work? Ready? It slowly happened. It started with Sin City, then 300, then The Dark Knight Strikes Again, To Die. Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's definitely changed his style. Again, it's cool, but I loved 300, the comic. Although I honestly think the movie is the better version. I feel like the movie is like the best version of the 300 story that Frank did. It just came out a few weeks ago. Really? Man, I missed that. Damn. Red, you didn't like The Dark Knight Strikes Again, but the colors were pretty good. Oh man, I hate to be like constantly like disagreeing, but oh my God, were the colors the worst thing in that book? I thought they were so god awful. It's like I understood that the colorist, it was probably like, it's computer technology. I'm going to try something new. But even at the time, I was like, these colors are horrible. And even in retrospect later, years later, I still don't find them attractive at all. I would rather see that Dark Knight Strikes Again in just black and white, like a Sin City type book. I would be way more interested. Pause that. Cro-Magnon, he has nothing to prove anymore. He's a living legend. Like you say, maybe it's age and the consequences of alcoholism on his hands, but man, maybe it is. Maybe it's just his own choice, you know? Saboteur Comics. You were sitting at a bar in Oakland, California, and Frank was at the end of the bar alone, so I asked the bartender to send Frank some whiskey. Frank got my shots and said, "You're dangerous. Joining me?" Dude, that's awesome. Dude, Saboteur Comics, shut up. Are you serious? Are you serious? Matt Wagner, John Romita Jr., and Mark Tex came over and y'all got shit-faced. Are you serious, dude? That is like the coolest story in the history of ever. I can see Romita Jr. getting shit-faced for sure. I don't know much about Tex beyond his art. That's awesome, man. They're on Penthouse Comics at the time. Yeah, Cro-Magnon's like, tell us more. Like, for real, dude. Matt Wagner is one of my favorite creators. All of those guys I love. I'm kind of excited to eventually get into, start reviewing Mage. I've got all 3 volumes of his Mage comics. Because I've covered a lot of his, Matt Wagner's, the Grendel. At least the Hunter Rose version. That's the only version I'm interested in. But what a hell of a time that would be. I've always liked Frank Miller, just in terms of like seeing interviews with him and seeing him talk talk about comics and his kind of approach and his thoughts on them. Well, I always thought he was kind of a charming, kind of fun guy. Oh shit, the Penthouse Comics publisher yeeted off a roof? Holy shit. Tex was telling you about what happened with Penthouse. It's a wild story. I bet. I wish Tex had more of an internet presence. I follow his Instagram page, and he would occasionally post, like, paintings in progress once every couple of weeks or some shit, but I haven't seen anything from him in forever. It just kind of makes me wonder where he's at, or hopefully it means he's busy and making money and making art, but is Tex working on anything? Why do I suddenly have this thought that I saw that he was working on something recently? I might be crazy. This is at the time when guys were making crazy money from Image, so all the companies had to compete, which was insanity to hear their stories. Yeah, that's something Image Comics was pushing, right? Like, hey, we can make all this money, so if you want our talent, I gotta make my nut. Isn't that the term? Cro-Magnon, you just read about that. They all went in with that Penthouse Comics and things didn't work out. What a shame. You bought the first issue back in the day and it was amazing. Luke, you just read the new Battle Beast? I haven't got it yet. I always am a few days behind on the Battle Beast because my local comic shop is like, it's a secondary store, it's a satellite store, and they don't get new issues on site at the secondary store, so they don't send new comics down to them until like Saturday afternoon, so I might get it tomorrow. But Man, Battle Beast is one of my favorite new comics in a long time. Cro-Mag, you gotta check out. It's almost 2 a.m. Oh, damn, man, that's late for you, my dude. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock here. I'm not gonna be on much longer. Luke, some Battle Beast actually called someone friend. They actually dared to show some humanity or something sort of along those lines in that last one with Battle Beast. So I'm interested. Yeah, Cro-Magnon, thank you, sir. Assume you haven't checked out already. Appreciate it very much. I haven't heard much about the story of Batman Deadpool. We were talking about it just a minute ago. A little bit, but... And Miller has a story in it? I didn't know that. I'm learning all kinds of stuff today. Did you guys see that Liefeld is doing his own Batman Deadpool fan comic? Did you guys catch wind of that at all? He just can't keep his hands out of it. So he's flat out said, like, fan comics are a huge part of the industry. And so I am in the middle of drawing my own Batman Deadpool fan comic. And he says, don't worry, it's not going to last very long because Batman won't last long in a fight against Deadpool. But he's actually drawing his own fucking Batman Deadpool crossover, which is fine, except I'm like, there he goes. He's already, like, crapping out on making his own comics, which he should be doing. He just sees a shiny thing, and he's like, well, I gotta go over here and do this. He's such a twat. Luke, please, God, no. I know, right? I mean, he's just gonna release it for free online somewhere. He has Deadpool, Batman shit, and it's fine. Whatever. I'll just save each image or something like that, and until he gets a couple out there, then we'll just do a digital, art review mockery of. There's no backgrounds. Everyone's standing around. Everyone's either standing around staring at you, or they're leaping through the air. But yeah, where's Youngblood number 2? He says it's done and drawn. We're like, alright. Alright, just wanted some kind of texture on the background of this face. Huh. I think that's working. I think that works. All right, Kevin. Yeah, I'm about done here too. It's 11. I've been going since 9. Think I'm gonna bag it myself. Alright guys, well thank you everybody who's hung out and been watching. I appreciate it. I'll probably be on tomorrow night, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, thanks guys. It was fun. It was a fun chat once again as always. Appreciate it. See you guys later.